my absolute favorite things to do when it comes to seasonal decor is to go to Dollar Tree, get some items for super cheap, and come home and use my Cricut to make them over and make them look super high end. So today I'm sharing 20 different projects and ideas on how you can make over items for fall and Halloween this year with Dollar Tree items. So it's gonna be on a budget, it's gonna be super cute. Let's get into it. This is Whiskey and Wit. My name's Whitney, and on this channel I love to share DIY and budget home decor as well as Cricut projects and wood builds. So if you like all things DIY, be sure to hit subscribe down below so you don't miss any future content. Most of my seasonal decor checks at least the Dollar Tree box or the Cricut made box. So when I can combine both of those and make some beautiful items with Dollar Tree $1 items as well as my Cricut, it is just a win-win. Also, to get through 20 projects, we're gonna be trucking today. So if you have questions on what materials to use or where to get started with Cricut, don't worry, I've got a full playlist. I will explain all of that for you. So I will link that down below as well if you need a little bit more help when it comes to Cricut. So without further ado, let's get into the DIYs. First up is a really easy locally grown pumpkin sign, and for this I am using these wedding signs that Dollar Tree has had for roughly the past year. If you can't find these, you can cut a shape out of some foam board, or you can use some of the wood arrows that you can find in the Crafter's Square section. I started by painting my whole sign white to cover up the wording, and then I used matte black permanent vinyl from Expressions Vinyl. I'm using matte black and matte white permanent vinyl throughout this whole video. I'm also using Expressions vinyl transfer tape because it is my favorite, and I am using my Cricut Maker 3. Now you can make these on any Cricut machine, so you definitely don't need a Maker 3 for that, but if you are interested in upgrading, I've got a full review on it and I will link it down below. I ended up cutting my decal to 7 inches wide, and then I went through and weeded out all of these small pieces. If you're new to Cricut, you will need one of these little hook tools. It looks like a Captain Hook essentially, and you use it to remove any of the vinyl that you don't need. Also remember to work slowly. Sometimes you'll see these time lapse and it will seem like it's crazy fast. Take your time because you want to make sure that you don't rip anything off. Then I am using some paper transfer tape. It is less sticky than your average transfer tape, and I like this for signs that I painted. So it will help your vinyl stick a lot better to chalk painted things, and also you won't have to worry about peeling up any of that paint that you just worked hard to put on your sign. So here it goes on really easily. A super fun cut file that I will have free for you over on my blog, and I absolutely love this. It took about 5 minutes to put together, not including the dry time, so maybe 10-15. And if you would like a Halloween version, you can do the exact same thing but with white vinyl. So I took another sign, painted the entire thing front and back and legs black, and then I did a similar free file that you can also download for the world famous Sanderson Apothecary for Hocus Pocus. So I added that to my sign, styled it with my little Pop Funkos, which these are so fun. If I can find them, I got them last year. I will link them down below. And it is a fun and easy way to make a directional sign, a piece of decor that you would probably find at a higher end place for $1. I was really happy to find these chalkboard pumpkin signs at Dollar Tree this year because they are a really fun shape, and I love that the pumpkin at the top could be Halloween or just fall in general. So the first thing I did was measure my sign to figure out what size I wanted my decal, and I decided to do a double-sided sign. I recently did a Hobby Lobby video where I used the same autumn leaves, and I also had a Hello Pumpkin, so I thought it'd be cute to do either side. You could also opt to do one side fall, one side Halloween, or Thanksgiving and fall. There's a ton of different options. But this was so easy. I cut it out on my white matte permanent vinyl, and I ended up making it a little bit smaller for the bottom right corner of the sign, just to kind of give it a little bit of an off-center kind of intentional spacing, but you could put it in the center, you could make it taller, shorter, etc. I applied it with my paper transfer tape, and then my sign was ready to go. I really like the script with the little squiggles on either end, so that's why I incorporated it into either piece. And really, if you look at this sign, it is an interesting shape, so if you put it next to some stuff like this, it looks kind of funny. So for styling, I suggest hanging it on either a gallery wall, or like I did here, I have a nail above our blanket ladder and it fits this open area just perfect. Number 3 is something unconventional that I've never done before, but I thought this would be fun. I grabbed one of these black soap dispensers from Dollar Tree. I created 4 different files to do the 4 different sides of it that are Hocus Pocus themed. Our guest bathroom downstairs is going to be Hocus Pocus themed for Halloween, and so I'm finding some fun, unconventional things to make for it, and I thought this soap dispenser would be perfect. So I measured and sized everything. The height needs to be about 3.5 inches, and so this one was a little bit too big, but a trick is if you have a piece or a vinyl decal that isn't the right size, but you need to move it around a little bit, I stick it to the transfer tape and then I kind of do a little bit of finagling and it ends up working out just fine. For this, I found the best option is to do about 3.5 inches for height and about 2 inches for width, but you can size it to your own preference. Went through with some regular clear transfer tape just because I don't have to worry about any paint peeling up because this is a finished piece, and added all 4 of my decals. This was such a quick and easy project, and if you're putting it in a bathroom that gets a ton of use and you don't want to worry about anything getting under the vinyl or anything, you could also seal this with some Mod Podge. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for my Hocus Pocus to start at the beginning of October, I decided to use this other file I actually made for a sign last year that I sized down and applied to a white soap dispenser. It's just a list that says autumn at the top, and then it's got some different fun things that I think of when I think of fall. It was not as hard to weed as you would think with all those little letters. It actually came out pretty easy, and I applied it. Same thing here. You could go ahead and seal it if you're worried about it, but it's like another piece of decor that is also super functional for your bathroom, and it's $1 from Dollar Tree. Every year, every season, Dollar Tree has some of these unfinished wood pieces. They also have unfinished wood pieces in their Craftish Square section year around. So I decided to grab a pumpkin and a leaf and to make some two-tone signs. I stained my leaf and my pumpkin with some dark walnut stain from Minwax, and then I let them dry. I've been asked recently how long I allow my stain to dry, typically overnight. Unless I'm in a hurry, then I give it at least 3 hours, just because if not, you get that residue on your hands. So I left these overnight. Once they were dry, I brought them inside to do my two-tone paint technique. I took some painter's tape and taped off approximately where I thought the center was, and then I painted 1/2 of the leaf white, and I did the exact same thing on the pumpkin, and I did the bottom of that orange. I like the wood tone plus the color, and they still feel like neutral to me, but also they are fun and modern with the two-tone color. Once they were dry, I just peeled off the painter's tape, and then I was ready to apply my decals. Here again, I'm using that permanent black matte vinyl, and I really like matte vinyl just because it's not as shiny. It's a personal preference thing. You could use whatever vinyl you have on hand. It's just if you are going to purchase some and you like the look that I'm doing, you're in luck, because I will link it down below for you so you can check it out. And then again, because we are on top of wood and some paint, we're using the paper transfer tape, applying it, and it's nice with this because I used the painted line to line up my text for both of my signs. Because they both had holes at the top, I finished them off by adding a little bit of jute twine in case I wanted to hang them, but I also just plan on using them on shelves as well, so it's kind of a twofer. I could do either way. I really love the two tones of these. These leaves are gorgeous that you can find from Dollar Tree. You could also do the same thought process on just like a wood round or other pieces that you're finding at Dollar Tree. So if you can't find exactly what I have, you could use these concepts and these different techniques to make it your own on what you are able to find, or things that you can find at other stores like Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Michaels, etc. Number 5, I'm so excited about because I've been seeing some glass drinkware everywhere, all over Instagram, all over Etsy, and so I wanted to show you how you could get the look. Step 1 is to measure your cup, and this is a Dollar Tree cup. I got questions when I used it in my teacher video. I did find these at Dollar Tree. However, Walmart does have them, so you can get them there as well. They are super pretty and they look so much more expensive. So I used my white matte permanent vinyl to cut out this Autumn Leaves and Lattes Please decal to apply to my cup. I also cut out some smaller images in 1-inch pieces, so I just sized them to 1 inch on Design Space.
Once everything was weeded, I took a little piece of cotton that I use for my makeup and just took some nail polish remover and did it all around the outside. I find this helps, especially with drinkware that you're wanting to be permanent with the vinyl. It helps it stick because you don't have any like grease or anything on the cup. Then I grabbed whatever I had around so that I could balance my cup so it wouldn't fall over, so I could get right over the top to make sure it was applied correctly. Went through and trimmed off the extra transfer tape, and I'm just using regular here, no need to use the paper. And then I got it lined up. Now here's a trick to applying to cups so that you don't get any bubbles in your vinyl. Push down the center just a little bit and then go around the outside before you push it down and create a ton of little slits in your transfer tape. What this is going to do is allow for the bubbling to kind of escape before it transfers to your vinyl. So I'm getting this around a very rounded surface and it is applying really cleanly. After I did that, I just took my little pieces, my 1-inch decals, and added them all around sporadically around the cup so that there was artwork all around the cup. I'm so happy with how this turned out. It looks just like some of the inspiration pieces I was looking at, and because I had this vinyl on hand, this was a $1 cup for me. Now, as far as care here, I've had people ask, do you put Mod Podge on the cups? Do you seal them, etc.? For cups like this, I don't seal them. What I do is I let them sit for a couple days to make sure it's adhered, and then just make sure that you're hand washing, and you should be good to go. Dollar Tree is a treasure trove for different shaped signs that you can find seasonally. So this one I ended up grabbing because I liked the mason jar shape, but you could use this technique on any sign that you can find at Dollar Tree. I first ended up removing all of the paper on the front that had glitter on it, as well as the little metal piece for the lid, so that I could get off all the front pieces of paper. It's like a sticker that they had on there. Then I just took a sanding block and roughed it up so that I got rid of all the little pieces, and then I painted the entire thing with orange Waverly chalk paint. I did 2 coats, and then once it was dry, I took some hot glue, reapplied that top metal piece, and then I took a fun file that I love. I've used it on a couple different projects. You'll see this more throughout the video. It's got a leaf and it says, "The only thing getting lit this weekend are my fall scented candles." It cracks me up because now that I'm a mom, spend a lot of time at home, and so I saw this on a shirt and I knew I had to put it on some signs because I thought it was fun. Like, I'm not going crazy this weekend. I am wearing my sweatpants and watching Hocus Pocus probably. So if you're with me, leave a comment down below. But I absolutely love this cute little decal, and you can put it on any Dollar Tree sign, put it next to a fun festive candle, or hey, just put it next to any candle that you have, and you've got a cute little cozy vignette for fall. Lucky number 7 is a trivet makeover. So I did this for Christmas last year, and I actually got some great tips from you guys on how to do it better. So this is the better version. I took my Cricut squeegee and popped off the little pieces at the bottom, the little nubs essentially, to help it sit upright. And then I cut out a file 8 inches wide to match the size, but I cut it out mirrored like I would for heat transfer vinyl. And the reason I did that is so that I could apply it to the back of the trivet, so you're not putting any food or hot stuff right on the vinyl, which is so smart. So thank you for all of you that let me know that. Then I applied my transfer tape, and here I was trying to be chintzy and fiscally responsible and reusing some of that paper transfer tape. I think I had tried to do it one too many times, so I had to fight with it a little bit. Nonetheless, I got it off. And then I took my piece, put it face up on the table, and then I stuck the circular trivet to it. That helped me get everything lined up so I wasn't going at it blind. And then I sealed the back with 2 coats of Mod Podge. When you put it on, it's going to look white like this, but then go ahead and let it dry in between coats and then fully before you're done. And you're going to be able to see exactly the decal that you want underneath, but then everything's sealed and away from the food or the heat. Then I took those little protector nub pieces and put them in the dots of the decal so that they kind of blend in. They're not on the leaf, and I absolutely love this. This would make a great hostess gift or something for a teacher, kind of a thinking of you thing. There are a ton of different options you could do for this for $1. It is mind-blowing that it's that cheap. And speaking of mind blown, I am shocked that I haven't tried a pizza pan sign yet. I've seen them all over the internet and Instagram as well, but I haven't tried one. So today we are going to make one for the wall in my living room. I needed something to fit within a wreath, and so I thought, hey, I can make a black circular sign that is kind of industrial for fall. Took some flat black matte spray paint, sprayed it onto the pizza pan, and then I cut out this circular decal that I also designed. This will be available for you as well. I weeded it all out. This is that matte permanent white vinyl. I'm using the paper transfer tape because I don't want to peel up any of that paint. And then I cut off the excess on the outside. Now I ran into a little bit of an issue here, but don't worry, I'll show you how to fix it. So my circle was just a little bit off in my design, so I just cut off the bottom, set it to the side, and applied the top 3/4 of my design. Peeled off that transfer tape and then took the piece that wasn't going to fit, trimmed that up a little bit, and applied it so that it worked. A lot of times I think people get very frustrated if you cut out a decal and it doesn't fit perfect every time. So I want to show you it still happens to me. I've been cricketing for a long time. It's how you pivot and how you make it work. Then to create a hanger, I just added 2 large dabs of hot glue on the back of my little pizza pan. I use Gorilla brand hot glue. It is my favorite and it holds up really well. I entomb some jute twine on the back so that I can hang it up, and this fits perfectly in my little tobacco basket and wreath, both from Hobby Lobby. And then I just use my little hanger to hang this sign in the center. You would not guess that it's a Dollar Tree pizza pan. I'm shocked I haven't tried this sooner, but this thing is so stinking cute. For number 9, we're going to talk about some more of those wood cutouts. So this one is a wider pumpkin, but you could use any of the pumpkins for this. You could also grab any pumpkin shaped sign that they have and paint it as well. So I stained that in Briar Smoke by Varathane to match some of our new pieces in our house. And then I took some of these make your own ornament pumpkins. I did 4 for our family because there's 4 of us. And then I added some plastic wood, and you just want to make sure that if you're going to stain it, that it is stainable, but here I'm painting them. I just wanted to fill that top hole because I'm not going to use these as something that's hung. And then I painted all 4 of them with some orange chalk paint. I know I scared a lot of you in a video where I mentioned that Walmart was getting rid of Waverly. Apparently it's just my Walmart, so I'm sorry for anyone I gave a heart attack to. It's a regional thing, I guess, but I was able to find some in another store, so crisis averted. I then cut out all 4 of our names, so Alex, Whitney, Finn, and Sebastian. Sebastian is my dog. I don't have 2 human children. I have a fur baby and little Finn. So I glued those to my wood pumpkin, and then I also cut out welcome to our little pumpkin patch. I had the same one last year, but I made it that it could hang, and so I wanted to make something that could freestand. So I grabbed just a paint stick that already was stained the same color left over from another project. I glued 3 tumbling tower blocks to the back of my pumpkin so that I could have a little bit more surface area to glue it down. And then I added some hot glue to the bottom of those little Jenga pieces, glued it down, and then I had a little makeshift stand. I finished it off by tying some jute twine around the top little hole where the sign originally was hung, so that's covered. I really like having things that are personalized in our house. If you were to go out and get a sign with your last name on it or names, it's always so much more expensive. So taking Dollar Tree items and making them over is a huge win. I know a ton of you made this last year when I did the hanging sign, and hopefully this will inspire you to do a different variation. Number 10, let's talk about the chalkboard. So they've got a few different chalkboards now. They've got some weddings, some birthdays, some back to school. For this, it's a great shape. So think about what you can use on the back of signs as well. So I flipped it over because the chalkboard writing that was already on it was raised and I wasn't going to be able to cover that. So I took some black chalk paint, covered the whole back so it was uniform, and then I grabbed some of these really pretty leaf ornaments. I did the same thing that I did with my pumpkins, fill the top with some of that wood filler, and this plastic wood is stainable. These leaves I'm going to stain, and so I wanted to make sure that when the stain went over it, it wasn't going to look weird. So then once those were all covered, I let them dry, and then you just sand off any excess of that wood filler, and then I stained all of my leaves. I ended up doing 5 just so I had enough for the sign, and then I cut out this decal, again, one that I designed, with a really pretty sentiment about how a fallen leaf is summer's goodbye and a fresh start. Once it was all weeded, I used some paper transfer tape, transferred it over to my sign right in the center, And then I took those leaves and started putting them all around so that it looked like they were falling from the sky. I did a similar sign last year and I absolutely loved it. And so when I saw this saying, I knew I wanted to make a sign. So I'm doing some with the top facing up, some with the top facing down. And then my fifth one, I ended up marking and cutting in half with my miter box just so that I could use the two pieces to fill in those spaces. Now to get that high-end look, I'm using the edges to really frame that text, and what that does is it really looks super intentional and it helps your piece look high-end. So when you're putting different pieces on, how the one point kind of goes in between the E and the A, the other point goes really close to fresh at the bottom. That is how I like to get something that looks custom made and it looks like there was a lot of intention that went into it. Don't do a ton of outdoor decor, but when I saw these, I had a really fun idea for these two pumpkin yard stakes. So I ended up taking them outside thinking I could just spray paint over the top, but then I realized that I just wasn't feeling this leaf and the little spring, so I popped that off. Then I was like, probably should eliminate this sticker before I paint. So I just ran some hot water over the top, and that really just broke down the adhesive really easily. Then when it was all ready to go, I spray painted one with the same spray paint I used on my pizza pan sign, so that flat black, and then I used some Krylon orange popsicle. This is gloss spray paint, but this is what I had on hand, so I made it work. And it was orange already, but it was kind of green too. It was like a spotty, like Dollar Tree paint job, so I wanted to make sure it was even. Then I cut out two files that I also designed. One says welcome to our pumpkin patch, and the other one will be coming up for Halloween. I decided to use the paper transfer tape here, but I probably could have gotten away with using the regular transfer tape just on top of the spray paint. I sometimes don't know. Sometimes spray paint pops off, sometimes it doesn't. So I just wanted to be safe here, but for future reference, you could probably just have used regular. Then I just applied it, and then because it was going outside, I gave it a really good coat of Mod Podge over the top to seal down the vinyl, added a little bit of buffalo check ribbon, and this is super cute in our front yard. It would also be fun if you wanted to put your last name on it, like welcome to the Johnsons patch, or the Johnsons welcome you to our patch, something like that. And this is the original idea that I bought these for. So every year we buy more and more candy for Halloween. Every year we run out. Our neighborhood must be known as the people that have a lot of candy. I don't know. But we always need something to say like, hey, sorry, we always run out early, even though we buy more and more every year. So I have this, I can run out, pop it out, and we have some lights out front, so it'll be well lit on Halloween. I hope we don't need to use it, but for $1, this is a great thing to have in your back pocket. These are the super solid wood pieces that you can find in the Crafters Square section year round. And I thought, okay, let's take some of these wood cutouts that we've been using, add some plastic wood to fill the little holes, and then let's create some fun little signs. So I did 2 pumpkins, and then I also did the same thing to a leaf so that I had different options. Then my 2 taller signs I stained with Briar Smoke by Varathane, and then my little circle ended up being stained with dark walnut just so I could change it up. While that was drying, I was inside painting 2 pumpkins white and 1 leaf orange. Then I really liked the two-tone look we did earlier so much that I wanted to do it here as well, so I did white and the orange here. I'm just using some painter's tape to tape off where I want it and then going through and painting. Once the paint was dry, I removed the painter's tape and then it was time to add a decal. So I started with my round wood piece that was dry from being stained, and when I hot glued the pumpkin on, the little stem covered the hole, which was a win-win because I didn't want it to look like an ornament. Then I used my black matte vinyl to cut out Hello Fall, and I used the line to align the top of the word fall so that it stuck evenly to the sign. My last step here was to make sure that this sign sat up straight, so I just took a little tumbling tower block and made a little kickstand on the back, so then that way when I went to set it up, it looked perfect. I could also see this looking really cute with some chalkboard paint with what your family is thankful for, and you can change it out throughout the season. For the next one, I took those tall little tags and I added my scented candle file onto this one. I ended up applying it with some orange vinyl to the lower part of the tag. And I have this multi-pack I usually buy from Amazon for 12 by 12 sheets of vinyl when you need some color. I use black and white vinyl all day, every day, but sometimes I want a little festive color without having to buy a bunch of rolls. So I will link that for you if you are the same. Then to finish it off, I added some jute twine to hang it, as well as some buffalo check ribbon at the top to have it match my decor, but you could use whatever color that you want. And I absolutely love how easy this is to create a little tag like this, add it to a little vignette or a tiered tray with a fun candle, and you've got a cozy little area perfect for fall and a fun tongue-in-cheek little saying as well. Who doesn't like signs that get a chuckle out of your guests? I know I do. Another idea for these signs is to take that leaf cutout, paint it in orange, glue it to the sign. I just used some Gorilla Hot Glue, added a little tag. I had to do a little bit of operation to get sweater weather to stick. This is in the font Amatic, and I like this for Rae Dunn dupes because it's a little thicker, a little easier to weed, and this is super cute. Again, tiered tray, vignettes. You could tie this on to a gift for a hostess, or if you've got birthdays coming up, a ton of different options, but I really like how these little signs turned out. Now here's another idea. I've been loving making magnets lately, so I took one of those extra two-tone pumpkins that I had painted, and I used some paper transfer tape to do Hello Fall in the same Amatic font. I then ended up applying it one word at a time, so then that way I could get it to fit where I wanted it. Once it was applied, you could leave it like this to be just kind of a little sign, but I added one of these wood magnets. You could also use a circular magnet, whatever magnet that you have, and I glued it on and added a little bit of buffalo check ribbon, so then that way it was finished off at the top. This is a great thing that you could just set up with some pumpkins to look super festive, but I've added it to our growing magnet collection on our fridge. So I know that I've used this sign a ton and you guys know that I love it, but let's think about it as any Dollar Tree sign in a shape like this. So just think of this as a technique. If you have a sign with some glitter on the front, make sure that you are sanding that down so that you don't really see that come through the paint. And then I painted the entire thing black to kind of give me a chalkboard vibe. I really like this sign because it fits really well over wreaths, and you can switch out the sign instead of having to have a ton of seasonal wreaths, which is also huge in a small house like ours. I had this wood plaque stained from another project. This is also from Dollar Tree, so I just ended up hot gluing that to the center of the sign. And then I cut out Welcome Home minus the O so that I could make that into a little pumpkin. So I cut this out on white vinyl, and then I used the orange vinyl that I used in the last project to cut out a little pumpkin. And it was easier for me to just stick on the little pumpkin as a sticker because it was one piece, but you can use the transfer tape to add it if you want. Then the sign was looking a little bare to me, so I went through with some jute twine and some fabric scraps, created a little garland to hang across the top. I just tied the fabric scraps across the top, and then I ended up hooking the whole thing to the back, so it hung like a garland across the top, and that definitely gave it more texture, made it feel more warm, cozy, fall-like, and I love that addition. This is a great sign that you can sit with pumpkins and make a fun vignette, or it can go really well on top of wreaths like this boxwood wreath that I have. It's great for year round because you can put whatever colors or signs for the season that you're in, and then you don't have to worry about storing a ton of seasonal wreaths, but you have what looks like a seasonal wreath and a new one every season. Dollar Tree is great for square signs like this. If you can't find this particular one, you can find some form of variation. So if it is a photo frame like this, you can remove the back and pop it off. I also had to get rid of these beads. It's going to be whatever sign that you have. Then I removed this extra stuff so that I didn't keep that same energy on it or in the background of the sign. If you have another sign that isn't like a photo frame, you can just take your thumbs and pop out the sign. That's a good thing about Dollar Tree stuff. You can easily dismantle it. Then I decided to paint one of my signs orange, and then I had a larger sign and a smaller sign, so I did two with black on the outside. After I popped this sign out, I made sure to get rid of any of the remnants of the little sign pieces so that when I went to put it back in, there wasn't any like little missing pieces there. Once my sign was done, I cut out 2 decals that I designed as well as 1 decal that I got from Etsy, so I will give you all of that information. This is the same one from the cups to show you that you can use my files for a variety of different projects. This would be great for a coffee bar. Then for my next one, I want to make a Haunted Mansion sign. So this file says beware of hitchhiking ghosts with the 3 friends from the Haunted Mansion ride at Disney. I ended up needing to resize the sign, so I might go back and end up fixing this because ghosts got cut off, but you get the idea. You can add really whatever you want, and you could also do free printables in these as well. My final one, I ended up doing a black background just like the hitchhiking ghost, but I cut out this Sanderson Witch Museum file. I wanted a small sign like this for our Hocus Pocus bathroom, and so this was a perfect way to do so. This file is from Etsy. I've had it for a while. I've done a lot of projects with it. I will link it down below. And how cute is this with my little Funko Pops? The Danny on the right is brand new. I got it for about 13 bucks. It's currently available on Amazon, so I will link that for you too if you're a Hocus Pocus fan like me. All right, so we're at project number 17, and we're going to use these bags to create a fun Halloween pillow. However, if you've made it this long with me, last time I asked you to say acorn. This time I'm going to ask you to say Binks from Hocus Pocus, so I know you stuck with me, or leave a little emoji of a cat. So Binks is B-I-N-X, and that lets me know that you guys stuck with me through these videos and you don't mind that they're a little long if they're jam-packed with content. So what I did was remove the back of each of these canvas bags from Dollar Tree, so I had a front and the back of my pillow. Then I decided to screen print this onto my pillow. I have a full video on how to screen print the whole process. It's slowed down for you, so definitely check that out. I didn't want to try to rehash that all in this video because we're going to do a couple screen printing projects, so just head over to that video and I will run you through the entire process. You could also cut out some iron-on vinyl for this, or there are a ton of different options. I just had a couple things I wanted to do in the same pattern, and so screen printing made it easier to just use the one cut multiple times. So I applied my stencil to the screen, and then I used my black speedball ink to apply the decal to the front of my pillow. I also like to screen print pillows now with Finn being around because it makes it easier for things to just be permanent. He can't peel stuff off, it won't crack if he's jumping on the pillow, all the things. Once my ink was applied, I peeled up my screen and I let it dry overnight. Then the next day, I used my heat press at 320 for 45 seconds to heat set my pillow. I also make sure to use something over the top. This is just a Teflon sheet that I have, but you could use butcher paper, you could use a towel. I just like to protect my heat source. After it was pressed and heat set and permanent, then I just went back through and got rid of any wrinkles on my canvas. Then my last step was to assemble and stuff my pillow. So I put the 2 sides that I wanted on the outside together on the inside, glue around the outside, and then you're gonna flip it inside out. So I know you can see the Sanderson Witch Museum here, but that's just because it was screen printed. We're gonna flip it inside out so that you can see the decal. And then I just took some polyfill I got at Walmart. You can use whatever your preference is to fill your pillow. Then I went through at the bottom, added a little bit more hot glue, and sealed off that little edge so that the pillow was complete. I love the size of this pillow so much. It's definitely a smaller pillow. It's kind of like the size you would get at the Target dollar spot. And I love that it says Sanderson Witch Museum, but it's also neutral, so it goes really well with the pillows I already have on my couch. I might swap out the big black one for some Halloween orange, but overall, a super easy project to put together. Again, you could use heat transfer vinyl or infusible ink, whatever your preference is. For number 18, we're going to do the same screen printing technique, but we're going to use these tea towels. I found these in the kitchen section at Dollar Tree, and I thought these would make really great personalized towels. The reason I decided to screen print the towels is because when you go to dry your hands, you don't want to worry about cracking any heat transfer vinyl. I've done it before, but I thought this would work better, and it is permanent, so you can just toss them in the wash and they will be good to go. I screen printed both the Sanderson Witch Museum design on here and a pumpkin season one, and I did them at 8 inches wide. Once they dried overnight, I heat set them just like I did the last project, and these are both super cute. The pumpkin season is going to be great now for September, and the Sanderson Sister Witch Museum will come out in October. Now I wanted to make a reverse canvas because I really love making these as signs. They have a really nice wood frame and they're pretty easy to put together. So I started by dismembering my sign. I got out all the staples on the back, and then once I pop them up with a flathead screwdriver, I just took a set of pliers to pinch them and get them out. Then once my outside was ready to go, I sanded it a little bit, and then I took it outside and stained it in the dark walnut by Minwax. I use that canvas piece, and I'm using the inside of the canvas, so it's not the waxy side, to screen print the pumpkin season onto that. The reason I did this was just to save some heat transfer vinyl. You could absolutely do that. If you're just going to do this project, I would recommend doing the heat transfer vinyl, but because I was already going to be screen printing that towel, I just decided to go this route. Also, if you are screen printing and have any issues with your ink not going fully through like I did here, I just went through with a fine-tipped Sharpie and I was able to fix all of the letters at the end so that you really couldn't tell. It also kind of gives it a rustic look with it not being 100% perfect, which I like too. Then to reassemble, I just took my staple gun, put in all of the staples on either of the corners. I did all 4 corners and then the 4 edges. And then the same thing with this sign, I needed a little bit more oomph, so I stapled some jute twine to either side, and then I just went through and hooked some more of that scrap fabric to the top. I really love this pumpkin season sign. This file is not mine. I got it from a blog and I will link it down below so you can get it if you're interested as well. But again, if you like any of the files I created today, you could use them to do something similar. And number 20, I think I've saved the best for last. I wanted to put it at the end because I know not everybody's interested in making their own t-shirts when you go for decor, but I had to share this one because it was so stinking cute. I found this t-shirt at Dollar Tree. My stores have been getting a lot of t-shirts in lately, which has been awesome, in this maroon color. So I saw this saying on a t-shirt on Etsy originally, and I knew I wanted to screen print it. Once I screen printed shirts, I probably will not go back just because they're so much more comfy. They will not crack. They're permanent. They wash really nice. And so again, check out that screen printing video if you're interested in the full tutorial. But here is the process. You just cut out your stencil that is mirrored, apply it to your screen, which I got this for really inexpensively on Amazon. Then I used some white Speedball fabric ink to apply it to my shirt. And before I did that, I just put a little bit of cardstock in between the 2 layers of the shirt, the front and the back, so then that way it wouldn't bleed through on me. I squeegeed on my ink and then removed my screen, and I had this super fun t-shirt that was custom. I love it too because I designed the file, so it's a full DIY all around. Then I set it with that same setting, 320 for 45 seconds. I made sure to get each edge of where the ink was, and I absolutely love this thing. It's super comfy. I could see it being really cute with a flannel over for the fall. And like I said before, you could easily do this with heat transfer vinyl too if you don't have a screen printing kit. Just grab a file, cut it out, and press it on.
Thanks so much for watching and sticking through all 20 projects for me. If that wasn't enough for you, don't worry. I did the same type of video last year, so I've got a ton more fall Cricut inspiration with DIY items that I will link on the screen for you, as well as my full fall playlist in case you want some more inspiration beyond just this video. Also, if you're new here, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a future Whiskey and Wit video, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!